The Supreme Council chamber floated in the void between stars, a massive structure of crystalline metal that reflected the light of 1,000 distant suns. Inside, beings from 40,000 worlds gathered to decide the fate of countless civilizations. Today, they discussed a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy. Admiral Vorak Tesh stood before the council, his forearms crossed in a gesture of casual dismissal. His species had conquered worlds for 10,000 years. He knew weakness when he saw it. "The planet is called Earth," he said, his voice carrying through the chamber without emotion. "The inhabitants call themselves humans. They have not left their own star system. They use chemical explosions to reach their own moon. Their weapons are primitive. They still kill each other over imaginary lines on their planet's surface." The council members shifted in their seats. Some looked bored. Others checked data streams flowing through their neural implants. A small planet of primitives was barely worth their time. "What resources does this system contain?" asked Counselor Vex, a being of pure energy contained in a magnetic field. "Significant mineral deposits in the asteroid belt," Vorak Tesh replied. "Rare metals, the kind we need for our expansion into the next arm of the galaxy. The planet itself is unremarkable. Water, carbon-based life, nothing we have not seen 1,000,000 times before." "And the humans?" another counselor asked. "What threat assessment?" Vorak Tesh's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his kind. "Category 7, pre-spatial negligible threat. They sent us mathematical formulas and images of their world, hoping to communicate, like children showing drawings to adults." The council discussed among themselves. Some suggested offering the humans a place in the collective as a servant species. Others proposed simply ignoring them and taking what the collective needed. A few, very few, suggested caution. "I have reviewed their transmissions," said Counselor Moth, an ancient being whose species was among the first to join the collective. "These humans are different. They show remarkable creativity. Their entertainment transmissions show a species obsessed with conflict, survival, and overcoming impossible odds." "Entertainment is not reality," Vorak Tesh said dismissively. "Every primitive species tells stories of heroes and victories. It means nothing. I have personally overseen the annexation of 200 star systems. These humans are no different from any other species we have absorbed or eliminated." The vote was called. The council decided with overwhelming majority to annex the human star system. Earth's population would be given 30 rotations to evacuate to designated refugee worlds. After that, the planet would be cleansed to make room for collective mining operations. Vorak Tesh was given command of the operation. A single ship, the Dominant Truth, would be sufficient. It was 3 kilometers long, armed with weapons that could crack a planet's crust and protected by shields that could withstand a star's radiation. To send such a ship against primitives was already considered excessive. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the command center of Earth's Unified Space Agency, watching the alien ship appear on every screen. It had simply materialized in orbit around the moon, ignoring every physical law humanity understood. No exhaust, no heat signature during approach, just sudden presence where nothing had been before. "They are hailing us," said the communications officer, her voice shaking. The transmission came through. The alien's face filled the screens. 4 eyes, mandibles, skin like polished stone. When it spoke, the translation software struggled to keep pace. "Humans of Earth, I am Admiral Vorak Tesh of the Galactic Collective. Your star system has been designated for annexation. You have 30 of your planetary rotations to evacuate. We will provide coordinates for refugee processing centers. Resistance is futile. Compliance is mandatory. This is not a negotiation." General Marcus Webb stepped forward. He was a soldier who had fought in 3 wars. He had seen death and destruction, but he had never felt so utterly powerless. "We request peaceful dialogue," he said, knowing it was hopeless. "We mean no threat to your collective. We only ask to be left in peace." Vorak Tesh's mandibles clicked. "Your requests are irrelevant. You are primitives occupying valuable resources. Be grateful we offer you life as refugees. Many species before you were not given such courtesy." The transmission ended. The alien ship remained in orbit, a silent promise of destruction. Sarah Chen looked at the data streaming across her screens. The ship's power output was beyond anything humanity could produce. Its smallest weapons could level a city, and this was just one ship. "We cannot fight this," someone whispered. General Webb stood silent for a long moment. Then he walked to a secure terminal and entered a code that only 5 people on Earth knew. Deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, lights activated in a facility that had been built in absolute secrecy for 50 years. "No," Webb said quietly. "We cannot fight this. Not the way they expect us to fight." Sarah Chen understood. She had been part of Project Eschaton since its beginning. When humanity first detected alien signals decades ago, governments had secretly prepared for this day, not with weapons but with something far more dangerous. They had prepared humanity itself. "Send the evacuation orders," Webb commanded. "Make them public. Make it look like we are complying." He turned to Sarah. "And activate the sleepers, all of them." Around the world, in hidden facilities, 100,000 humans opened their eyes. They were no longer quite human. Enhanced, modified, designed for one purpose, to ensure that if humanity fell, it would not fall quietly. Vorak Tesh watched from his ship as Earth descended into chaos. Cities began evacuating. Panic spread. Ships launched desperately toward the coordinates he had provided. As expected, he told his crew, "They are insects scattering before the fire. Prepare the cleansing weapons. In 30 rotations, we will erase their civilization and begin mining operations." He did not notice the small ships leaving Earth in every direction, not toward the refugee centers, but out into the dark between stars. He did not count them. Why would he? They were just more fleeing primitives. This was his first mistake. It would not be his last. The world had never been united before. Not truly. Wars had raged for thousands of years over land, resources, religion, and pride. But now, facing extinction, every nation on Earth spoke with one voice. General Marcus Webb stood before the United Earth Command, a room filled with leaders who had been enemies just months ago. Now they were allies in desperation. "We have 28 rotations remaining," Webb said, his voice steady despite the weight crushing his chest. "Our best scientists confirm what we already knew. We cannot hurt that ship. Our strongest nuclear weapons would not penetrate its shields. Our fastest missiles are too slow. We are fighting with sticks and stones against a god." "Then we surrender," said the Premier of the Eastern Alliance. "We evacuate. We live as refugees." "It is better than death," Webb shook his head. "They will not let us live in peace. We have studied their transmissions. The Galactic Collective does not tolerate independence. We will be slaves or experiments or worse, and they will take our world, the only home humanity has ever known." Sarah Chen activated the holographic display. Earth rotated slowly, beautiful and blue. Around it, red markers indicated every military asset humanity possessed. "We are going to attack," she said simply. The room erupted in arguments. Impossible. Suicide. Madness. Webb raised his hand for silence. "Yes, we will attack. And we will lose. We need to lose in a specific way. We need them to think they have won completely. We need them to underestimate us so thoroughly that they never see what comes next." 3 days later, every news channel on Earth broadcast the same message. Humanity would defend itself. Every nation contributed everything they had. Missiles, satellites, railguns, lasers, even weaponized spacecraft carrying nuclear payloads. The world watched as thousands of weapons launched toward the alien ship. It was the largest military operation in human history. Every weapon humanity had created in centuries of warfare was thrown at the dominant truth. Aboard the alien vessel, Vorak Tesh watched the attack with something close to amusement. His crew gathered around observation screens, pointing and clicking their mandibles in laughter. "They are actually trying," his second officer said. "Should we evade?" "No," Vorak Tesh said. "Let them see their failure. It will break their spirit completely. Activate point defense only. I want them to watch every single weapon destroyed." The human missiles came first, hundreds of them. The most advanced weapons Earth could produce. The dominant truth's automated defense systems tracked each one with casual efficiency. Laser grids swept space, detonating missiles hundreds of kilometers away. Not a single weapon got within 1,000 meters of the hull. The railgun projectiles came next. Massive chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds. The alien shields flickered briefly as they absorbed the kinetic energy, then stabilized. The projectiles vaporized on contact. The nuclear-armed spacecraft made their final approach, desperate pilots ready to sacrifice themselves. Vorak Tesh almost felt pity. Almost. The point defense systems eliminated them with precision, small explosions blossoming in the void. In 90 seconds, it was over. Humanity's entire military arsenal had been destroyed. Not a single weapon had damaged the alien ship. On Earth, billions watched in silence. Children cried. Adults stared at screens with empty eyes. It was over. They had tried everything, and it meant nothing. Vorak broadcast his message across all human communication channels. Your resistance was noted and found pathetic. You had 30 rotations. Now you have 25. Evacuate or die. There will be no further warnings. He cut the transmission and dictated his report to the Supreme Council. The human primitives attempted military resistance. All assets neutralized without damage to collective property. Cleansing will proceed on schedule. Annexation complete within 40 rotations. He received immediate response from the Council. Congratulations. Commendations. Another successful operation. Another world claimed for the collective. What Vorak did not report because he did not notice was the data burst transmitted from Earth in the chaos of the battle. Hidden in the electromagnetic noise of nuclear detonations, compressed into microseconds, a signal had been sent to every human ship fleeing into deep space. The message was simple. They see nothing. They fear nothing. Proceed with eschaton. Deep in hidden bunkers, Sarah Chen watched the battle's aftermath with tears streaming down her face. All those people dead in seconds. But their deaths had bought something precious. Confirmation that the collective could not imagine what humanity was truly capable of. She walked through sterile corridors to the cryogenics facility. Row upon row of pods stretched into the darkness, each containing a human who had volunteered for the most dangerous mission in history. These were the revenants. Genetically enhanced to survive in environments that would kill normal humans. Augmented with neural implants that could process information faster than any computer. Trained since childhood in warfare, sabotage, and survival. They could go without food for weeks, heal from injuries that would cripple others, and adapt to alien environments. Most importantly, they had been conditioned with one unbreakable purpose: survive and make the enemy pay for what they took. How many ships got away? Webb asked, joining her. 3,742, Sarah said, each carrying between 20 and 100 revenants in cryosleep, plus genetic material, manufacturing equipment, and data archives containing all human knowledge. And Vorak, he ignored them, classified them as refugee vessels. He has no idea what is coming. Webb looked at the sleeping revenants. Each one represented humanity's future. Not the future they wanted, but the future they needed. Will they remember Earth? He asked quietly. Sarah nodded. Every single one has been imprinted with memories of home. Videos of children playing, recordings of music, images of forests and oceans. They will remember what was taken from them, and they will never ever forgive. The evacuation continued. Billions of humans fled to the collective's refugee centers hoping for mercy, but others, the ones who knew the truth, made different preparations. On the 29th rotation, as Vorak prepared his cleansing weapons, Sarah Chen stood on the surface of Earth and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, traveling at relativistic speeds, humanity's future raced toward distant worlds. We will survive, she whispered to the night sky, and when we return you will understand what you have awakened. The next day, the dominant truth began its bombardment. Cities that had stood for thousands of years vanished in seconds. Oceans boiled. The atmosphere burned. 4 billion humans died as their planet was systematically destroyed. And in the void between stars, 3,742 ships traveled onward, their sleeping cargo dreaming of revenge. 20 years passed in the galaxy. For the collective, it was barely a moment in their eternal expansion. For the humans traveling at near light speed, time moved differently. In their cryogenic sleep, only months seemed to pass. The first pod reached its destination in the outer reach, a region of space so remote that collective presence was minimal. A mining colony on a moon designated K447, population 3,000. They extracted rare minerals and shipped them to the core worlds, and they never expected trouble. The human ship did not land. It crashed, deliberately, hard enough to scatter debris but not destroy the cargo. Automated systems activated, waking the revenants inside. Commander James Torres opened his eyes for the first time in 2 decades. His body ached as the enhancement protocols kicked in, rewriting his cells to adapt to the new environment. Around him, 49 other revenants stirred in their pods. "Status," he croaked, his voice rough from disuse. The ship's AI responded. "Successful landing. Hull compromised. Atmosphere detected. Methane-based, toxic to baseline humans. Temperature minus 100 degrees. Gravity 1.4 times Earth normal." Torres smiled. In the old days, such an environment would have killed humans in seconds. But the revenants were not baseline humans anymore. His lungs began processing the toxic atmosphere. His muscles adapted to the crushing gravity. His skin thickened against the cold. "Deploy," he ordered. They emerged into an alien world. The sky was green. The sun was dim and red. In the distance, the lights of the mining colony glowed against the darkness. "Remember the mission," Torres said to his team. "We do not exist. We do not fight openly. We are ghosts. We learn, we adapt, and we survive. When the time comes, we make them pay." They spent 3 months studying the colony. The aliens were insectoid, with hard exoskeletons and compound eyes. They communicated through pheromones and clicking sounds. They were efficient, organized, and completely unprepared for what hunted them. The revenants infiltrated the colony's systems first. They were enhanced with neural implants that could interface with any technology. Within weeks, they understood the alien computers better than the aliens did. They stole data, star charts, military codes, information about the collective's structure. Then they began the harvest. Not of minerals, but of technology. A power cell here, a communication device there, weapons, tools, ship components, anything that could be reverse engineered. The aliens noticed things going missing, but blamed each other. Theft was not unknown in remote colonies where workers felt forgotten and underpaid. On the 4th month, Torres gave the order. They had learned enough. It was time to send a message. The attack came at night cycle when most aliens were in their rest chambers. The revenants moved through the colony like shadows, enhanced reflexes making them faster than the aliens could track. They disabled the communication arrays first. No calls for help, no warnings sent. Then they moved through the habitation areas. It was not clean. It was not quick. It was designed to spread terror. The revenants had studied the aliens' psychology. They knew what would break them. By morning, the colony was silent. 3,000 aliens dead. The revenants had lost 2 of their own. Their bodies dissolved in acid to leave no genetic trace. Torres and his team gathered every piece of technology they could carry and disappeared into the moon's vast cave systems. Before they left, Torres carved words into the colony administrator's office wall using an alien cutting tool. The words were in the collective's common language. Earth remembers. When the collective investigation team arrived 3 weeks later, they found a ghost town. The recordings showed figures moving too fast to track clearly. The forensics showed no recognizable weapon signatures. The aliens had been killed by hand, by claw, by improvised weapons. What could do this? The investigator asked, reviewing the footage. "Unknown species," his assistant replied. "The attack pattern suggests intelligence, organization, and extreme aggression. But there are no ships in the area. No traces of where they came from or where they went." The investigator stared at the words carved into the wall. "Earth, check our databases." Earth was a primitive world in Sector 7749, cleansed 20 years ago by Admiral Vorak Tesh. No survivors reported. Then who wrote this? There was no answer. The report was filed and sent to Central Command. Classified as an isolated incident. Possibly a rival faction testing new weapons. Possibly rogue elements. Not worth major concern. But across the galaxy, more pods were arriving. More revenants were waking. And they were not alone. On a water world in the Perseus Arm, another team made landfall. They studied the amphibious aliens who lived there, learned their language, and began breeding. The second generation of revenants was born in alien oceans. Their children adapted to breathe underwater and withstand crushing depths. On a desert planet near the galactic core, humans dug into the sand and built underground cities. They intercepted collective supply shipments and stole manufacturing equipment. Within 5 years, they were producing their own weapons, built from reverse-engineered alien technology and human innovation. On a frozen world in the southern quadrant, revenants made contact with a species enslaved by the collective. They offered a deal. "Help us fight, and we will free you." The aliens agreed. It was the first of many such alliances. Sarah Chen had been on one of the pods. Now 60 years old biologically, but enhanced to survive another century, she commanded a growing fleet of ships stolen from the collective. Her base was a hollowed-out asteroid drifting in the space between systems, invisible to sensors. Reports are coming in from 40 colonies, her intelligence officer said. Our people are established on 60 worlds now. The second generation numbers over 50,000. The third generation is being born as we speak. Sarah studied the star map. Red marks indicated human presence. Blue marks showed collective military installations. The galaxy was vast, but humanity was spreading like a virus through its bloodstream. How long before they understand what is happening? She asked. They already suspect something, her officer replied. But they think we are raiders, pirates, or a new species. They do not connect us to Earth yet. As long as we keep moving, keep adapting, they will not see the pattern. Sarah touched the star map where Earth had been. The system was now a collective mining operation, Earth itself a dead rock stripped of resources. Let them mine our home, she said quietly. Let them think they won. When they finally understand what they created when they destroyed Earth, it will be too late for them. The attacks continued. A military outpost destroyed, a cargo fleet ambushed, a collective diplomat assassinated on a neutral world. Small incidents scattered across thousands of light years. Too spread out to be connected. Too random to show a pattern, but there was a pattern, and some in the collective were beginning to see it. Admiral Vorak Tesh, now promoted to fleet commander, reviewed the reports in his quarters. Over 50 incidents in 20 years. Always the same words left behind. Earth remembers. He pulled up the file on the primitive planet he had cleansed. The humans. He had thought them extinct. But what if survivors had escaped? What if they were out there, breeding in the darkness, growing stronger? He dismissed the thought. Impossible. Primitives could not survive in the void between stars. They did not have the technology or the knowledge, but still, doubt gnawed at him. He ordered increased patrols in the outer reach. He requested more security on remote colonies. He sent warnings about possible insurgent activity. The Supreme Council ignored him. They were too busy managing an empire of 40,000 worlds to worry about ghost stories and isolated attacks. This was their second mistake. 50 years after Earth's destruction, the collective finally understood they were at war, but understanding came too late. Fleet Commander Vorak Tesh stood before the Supreme Council again, but this time there was no arrogance in his posture. His forearms hung at his sides and his eyes held something the Council had never seen in him before. Fear. The attacks are not random, he said, his voice heavy. We have lost contact with 347 colonies. We have found 192 completely destroyed. Military outposts, mining operations, research stations. The pattern is clear now. We are being hunted. By whom? Demanded Councillor Vex. What species dares attack the collective? Vorak Tesh activated the holographic display. Images appeared. Surveillance footage from dozens of worlds. Figures moving through shadows too fast for cameras to capture clearly. Bodies of collective citizens killed with precision, and always, carved into walls or burned into the ground, the same message. Earth remembers. The council chamber fell silent. The humans, Councillor Moth said quietly. The primitives you cleansed 70 years ago. They were primitives, Vorak Tesh said. But they are not anymore. We have captured interrogation footage from survivors. The humans have spread across the galaxy. They live on worlds we consider uninhabitable. They have stolen our technology and improved it. They breed faster than we can track. Each new generation is stronger than the last. He showed more footage. A human walking through toxic atmosphere without protection. Another swimming in boiling sulfur seas. A third lifting wreckage that should have required machinery to move. They have modified themselves, Vorak Tesh continued. Genetic engineering, neural augmentation, biological adaptation. They can survive anywhere, and they have one purpose, revenge. The council erupted in angry debate. Some called for total extermination. Others proposed negotiations. A few suggested retreat from affected sectors. We have deployed 3 million soldiers to hunt them, Vorak Tesh said. We have lost 800,000. The humans do not fight us in open battle. They poison our water supplies. They sabotage our ships. They appear from nowhere, kill, and vanish. They know our systems better than we do because they studied us while we ignored them. Councillor Vex floated forward. You are telling us that primitives who could not defend their own world are now winning a war against the collective? They are not primitives anymore. Vorak said quietly. We made them into something else. Something worse. The reports flooded in daily now. A supply convoy ambushed in deep space. Every crew member dead, every cargo container emptied. A military academy on the planet Vex Prime. 5,000 cadets killed in their sleep by an unknown biological agent. A collective governor assassinated in his fortress. Protected by 1,000 guards, none of whom saw the killer. The humans used the collective's own weapons against them. They turned the collective's technology into nightmares. A captured power core became a gravity bomb that collapsed a space station. Stolen bioweapons were modified to target specific collective species. Communication networks were hacked, spreading misinformation and paranoia. But worse than the physical attacks was the psychological warfare. The humans did not just kill. They terrorized. They left survivors who spread stories. They made examples that taught fear. On the industrial world of Vex 7, a collective arms factory continued production despite warnings. The humans sent a message by destroying it in a specific way. They disabled the safety systems remotely, then overloaded the power plant. The explosion was visible from orbit. 50,000 workers died. The factory's administrator survived, found chained to his desk with a datapad showing the names and faces of humans who had died when Earth was cleansed. The message was clear. This is what you did to us. Now we do it to you. Sarah Chen was 120 years old now, kept alive by medical technology stolen from the collective and improved by human innovation. She commanded a fleet of 200 ships, all of them built in secret shipyards hidden in dark matter clouds that collective sensors could not detect. Her hair was white, but her eyes burned with the same fury she had felt watching Earth die. Around her bridge, humans and aliens worked together. The collective had made enemies everywhere, and humanity had found them all. Status of Operation Darkfall? She asked. 47 teams in position, her tactical officer reported. Targets confirmed. We are ready to strike simultaneously across the Perseus Arm. Sarah studied the tactical display. 47 collective military installations would be destroyed in the next hour, perfectly coordinated across light years of space. It was impossible by collective standards, but humans had stolen their faster-than-light communication technology and improved it. Now human forces could coordinate in real time across the galaxy. Execute, she ordered. Across the Perseus Arm, death arrived simultaneously. Human ships dropped out of quantum slip space, a technology they had developed by combining stolen FTL drives with human theoretical physics. They struck hard and fast, destroying ships' orbital platforms and defensive installations before the collective could respond. In 60 minutes, the collective lost more military assets than in the previous 1,000 years of expansion. Vorak received the reports in his command center. His mandibles clicked in distress as system after system went offline. How? He demanded. How are they moving so fast? How are they coordinating across such distances? His science officer looked up from his display, confusion in his compound eyes. Commander, they are using quantum-entangled communication. But our calculations show that technology should be impossible. The energy requirements alone. Humans do not care about our calculations. Vorak roared. They do the impossible because we taught them they had to. He pulled up the old files from Earth's cleansing. He read the reports he had filed 70 years ago. Primitives, negligible threat, easy annexation. He had been so wrong. He had destroyed their world but not their spirit. He had scattered them across the stars and thought it was mercy. Instead, he had created the most dangerous enemy the collective had ever faced. What do they want? His second officer asked. They reject all attempts at communication. They refuse negotiations. They only kill and vanish. Vorak understood. He had spent 70 years hunting humans. He had studied every attack, every pattern, every message they left. They want what we took from them, he said quietly. They want their home. They want their dead avenged. They want us to feel what they felt when they watched their world burn. Can we give them that? Can we negotiate? Vorak looked at the display showing collective losses. 300 worlds abandoned. Military forces stretched thin. Member species beginning to question the Council's ability to protect them. No, he said. We destroyed their world. We killed billions. There is no negotiation. There is only war. And I fear we are losing. Another report came in. A human fleet had been spotted near the core worlds. Not raiding, not hiding, but moving openly. They were no longer afraid. They were no longer running. They were coming home. Vorak sent an emergency transmission to the Supreme Council. Mobilize all forces. Recall every ship. The humans are coming for the core worlds. This is no longer scattered attacks. This is invasion. But the Council hesitated. They could not believe that primitives could threaten the heart of the collective. They could not accept that they had created their own doom. By the time they understood, by the time they finally saw what was coming, it was already too late. The human armada emerged from quantum slipspace at the edge of the collective's core systems. 5,000 ships, each one a masterpiece of combined human and alien technology. They hung in space like a constellation of death. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the collective's homeworlds felt terror. Vorak commanded the defensive fleet from his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Around him, 3,000 collective warships prepared for battle. It was the largest military force ever assembled in one location. It should have been enough. The human fleet is holding position, his sensor officer reported. They are not advancing. What are they waiting for? Vorak wondered aloud. His answer came as a transmission. The human fleet broadcast on all frequencies in every language the collective knew. The face that appeared on every screen was ancient and young at the same time. A human female with white hair and eyes that had seen too much. I am Sarah Chen, she said. I was there when your ship arrived at Earth. I watched from the command center as you murdered 4 billion of my people. I have spent 70 years of my life preparing for this moment. I wanted you to see what you created. Behind her ship, space itself seemed to tear open. More ships emerged. Thousands, tens of thousands. They kept coming, a flood of vessels that seemed endless. But these were not warships. These were colony ships, construction vessels, science platforms, and transports. You thought you killed us, Sarah continued. You thought cleansing one world would end humanity. You were wrong. We scattered across your empire. We bred on your worlds. We stole your technology and made it better. We found every species you enslaved and offered them freedom. We became what we needed to become to survive. And now we are more numerous than you ever imagined. The sensor displays lit up with contacts. Human populations were emerging from hiding across the galaxy. Hundreds of billions hidden on worlds the collective thought were empty or too hostile for life. They had been there all along, breeding, building, waiting. How? Counselor Vex broadcast from the council chamber. How did we not see this? Sarah smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You did not see us because you thought we were nothing. You looked at Earth and saw primitives. You did not see what made us dangerous. We adapt, we overcome. We never ever give up. Behind the human fleet, something new appeared. A structure that should not exist. A partial Dyson sphere, already capturing energy from a star that humans had claimed. The engineering alone should have taken centuries. Somehow humanity had done it in decades. That is impossible, Vorak whispered. The energy requirements, the coordination, the resources. Your word means nothing to us, Sarah said. You said we could not survive. We did. You said we could not fight. We have. You said we could not win. Watch. The human fleet moved as one. Perfect coordination across thousands of ships. They did not attack randomly. They struck with surgical precision, targeting the defensive fleet's command ships first. Weapons that combined collective technology with human innovation tore through shields that should have been impenetrable. Vorak fleet fought back. But the humans had studied 70 years of collective military tactics. They knew every strategy, every formation, every weakness. They had taken the collective's way of war and evolved beyond it. All ships fall back to defensive positions, Vorak ordered. But his fleet was already fragmenting. Human ships were faster, more maneuverable, their weapons more precise. Then the humans deployed something new. Biological weapons, but not the crude diseases of primitive worlds. These were engineered viruses that targeted specific collective species at the genetic level. Ships began reporting crew members falling sick, dying within minutes. They weaponized our own biology, the medical officer reported in horror. They studied us so completely they can kill us at the molecular level. Vorak realized the full scope of his failure. The humans had not just survived. They had spent 70 years studying every species in the collective, learning their strengths and weaknesses, preparing weapons specifically designed to counter each one. Open a communication channel, he ordered. I wish to speak with Sarah Chen. The human leader's face appeared. Up close, Vorak could see the modifications. Neural implants at her temples, eyes that saw beyond normal spectrum. She was no longer fully human, but something new. Something his attack on Earth had forced her species to become. "I made a mistake," Voraktesh said. "I underestimated your species. I treated you as primitives when I should have offered peace. I beg you, cease this attack. Let us negotiate. Let us find a solution that does not require more death." Sarah Chen studied him for a long moment. 70 years ago, my people begged you for peace. We showed you our art, our music, our mathematics. We asked only to be left alone. Do you remember what you said?" Voraktesh remembered. He had said resistance was futile. Compliance was mandatory. This was not a negotiation. "You taught us those words," Sarah said. "You taught us that mercy is weakness. That might makes right. That the strong do what they will, and the weak suffer what they must. We learned your lessons well. Then you will exterminate us?" Voraktesh asked. "You will do to us what we did to you?" Sarah shook her head. "No, we will do something worse. We will show you mercy. We will prove that we are better than you." She broadcast new orders. The human fleet ceased firing. Instead, they surrounded the collective forces and waited. "Your empire is broken," Sarah said. "Over 300 species have already joined our coalition. They were your slaves, your subjects, your victims. We offered them freedom and they took it. Your core worlds are surrounded. Your military is defeated. But we will not kill you. We will let you live to remember what you lost." The Supreme Council appeared on the communication channel. "What are your terms?" "Dissolution of the Galactic Collective," Sarah stated. "Freedom for all member species. War crimes trials for those who ordered or committed atrocities. And one more thing." She pulled up an image. Earth as it had been before the cleansing. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. "You will help us rebuild our homeworld. You will restore what you destroyed. It will take centuries, but you will do it. And every ship you send, every resource you provide, will be a reminder of what happens when you underestimate humanity." Voraktesh felt something break inside him, not his body, but his understanding of the universe. For 10,000 years, the collective had believed they were the peak of evolution, the ultimate form of civilization. They had been wrong. "We accept," the Supreme Council said. There was no other choice. Over the next days, the collective dissolved. Species after species declared independence. Some joined the human coalition. Others chose neutrality. A few collective loyalists retreated to their home systems, allowed to live but stripped of power. The core worlds were not destroyed. The humans kept their promise. They did not commit genocide, did not enslave, did not torture. Instead, they set up a new government based on equality and freedom. They showed the galaxy that there was another way. But they did not forget. On every world, on every ship, in every human heart, the memory of Earth's burning remained. They had rebuilt their species from near extinction. They had turned loss into strength. They had become the thing the collective feared most, an enemy that could not be destroyed because it had already survived the worst the universe could offer. 100 years after the war's end, Voraktesh stood on the surface of Earth. The planet was alive again, its oceans restored, its atmosphere breathable. Cities grew where only devastation had been. Human children played in parks where once only death had reigned. He was old now, kept alive by collective technology to serve his sentence, to help rebuild what he had destroyed. Every day he worked, planting trees, purifying water, moving soil. Every day he was reminded of his crime. Sarah Chen, impossibly old but still alive through human medical science, came to visit him sometimes. She never spoke of hatred or revenge. She spoke of the future, of the new civilization humans and aliens were building together. "Do you understand now?" she asked him one day, as they watched the sunset over a newly grown forest. Voraktesh looked at the children playing. Human, alien, and mixed species, a new generation that knew peace. "I understand that we thought we were predators," he said quietly. "We thought we ruled the galaxy through strength. But we were just bullies who had never faced a real challenge. You showed us what true strength is. Not the power to destroy, but the will to survive and the wisdom to forgive." Sarah nodded. "We could have been friends. If you had just asked instead of demanded. If you had seen us as equals instead of insects. This galaxy would be very different. And better?" Voraktesh asked. "Maybe, we will never know." She looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships explored new regions, always searching, always growing. But we know what it takes to make enemies into allies. We learned it the hard way. As night fell, the memorial lights activated around the globe. 4 billion points of light, one for each human who died in the cleansing. They shone from every continent, a reminder that those who were lost would never be forgotten. But they also served as a warning, a message to any species that might think humanity was weak, that Earth was vulnerable, that humans could be conquered or destroyed. The message was simple, carved into stone at the base of each memorial. We survived. Never forget what that means. The galaxy learned. Humanity had faced extinction and chosen to become something new. They had turned their greatest defeat into their ultimate victory. They had proven that the most dangerous species was not the one with the biggest weapons or the largest empire. It was the one that refused to die,